To call the meeting to order of the Board of Public Works and Safety here at the George Keller Public Assembly Room on June 24th, 5 p.m. The meeting is reflecting that we do have a quorum to do business for the City of Lawrence today. And we'll go right to our agenda items. And first item on our agenda would be the minutes of the regular meeting on June 10th, 2021. Are there any corrections, deletions, or admissions of those minutes?
No.
There are none. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We have our special meeting minutes, which our special meeting was held on June 17th, 2021. Are there any corrections to those special meeting minutes?
None.
Nope.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the special meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We go to unfinished business, and item A before the board today is the acceptance of the proposal for towing and recovery services. Let me first say thank you to those 5 companies that did issue their bid to the board. And I want the towing and services bid was reviewed by not only police but city legal. We thank both of those entities for their efforts. And we're going to do this in just kind of a 2-part cycle here. I want Caitlin, our city attorney, to make some comments. Then I'm going to ask the chief or his representative to make comments and recommendations. The board will have time for questions, and we will entertain anyone that would like to make some comments before the decision is rendered. So I will turn the next part of the discussion to Caitlin, our city attorney, for any comments.
Hi all, and can you hear me? Yes, okay. I'll be brief. I did review these. I checked to make sure that they were all turned in on time and appropriately in triplicate. I was informed that that was done. The standard from the statute and that was in the RFP is that an award shall be made to the responsible offerer whose proposal is determined in writing to be the most advantageous to the city. You can take into consideration price and other evaluation factors as set forth in the RFP. Those are listed out on one of the pages. I think there's 10 or so. We said the emphasis will be placed on administrative fees and each firm's ability to respond within 20 minutes to any location in the city and to provide services all day, every day. Just some notes on the legal aspects is that it looked like no one provided the level of insurance requested in the RFP, but we did reserve the right to waive technicalities, and to be honest, that was a very, very high level of insurance requested. From my review, it looks like everyone's insurance was pretty similar and that it was all appropriate. So that was just a note I had. After the administration talks, if there's any legal questions, I would be happy to answer those for you all.
Any legal questions for city attorney?
Was the length of contract comparable for each one? Or is it a renewable contract? So much to read, so.
I believe it would be the same. I'd have to go back through the RFP to check.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be a different length of time for any one person.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for city legal at this time? Okay. We'll now entertain Chief Hoffman or your representative for recommendations and comments.
So I believe it's the intent of the board to receive a recommendation from the Lawrence Police Department.
That is correct.
As to which vendor to go with.
Yes, sir.
Before I make that recommendation, I'll just let you know that Deputy Chief Curtis Bigsby, to my left here, has done exhaustive research on all the proposals. We have both read them thoroughly. He has gone through with a fine-tooth comb and made presentations to me and the other Deputy Chief, Gary Woodruff. We take this decision and this recommendation very seriously. We know that a lot of people are affected by this recommendation. Although at the end of the day, at the end of the meeting, I should say, we defer to your decision-making and we respect the decision of the Board of Works. So with that said, as I said, we looked at all of the proposals as they were presented in the RFPs, and we are recommending that Zors be the towing vendor for the City of Lawrence moving forward. Just a couple points. Based on the information we saw in the RFPs and no other outstanding information really was available, and I personally do not know any of the respondents. I don't know any of the people behind me I've never met, and so that's not a factor. But some things that jumped out about Zors with us was the increased administrative fee that would be paid per tow to the City of Lawrence. And you mentioned earlier that the bids would be, or the vendors would be accepted based on the overall betterment, I believe, of the city in general, which that goes to that point. We noticed in this proposal that they also mentioned that they have several bilingual office staff members, and we know that that's an important fact for the demographic and the composition. The citizens of the City of Lawrence are, we have a lot of Spanish speakers. They have indoor storage, and I was personally quite impressed with the size of their staff in terms of their supervisors, drivers, and office personnel. I do think that really all three vendors that we looked at would be qualified. I think they're great companies based on what I see on paper here. And so I have nothing against the other two. It's just that when we had to pick one, we felt like Zors was going to be the best for the operations of the city, of the police department, and that's where we stand. And we can answer any questions. Really, Deputy Chief Bigsby is probably best positioned to answer specific questions, all the way up to and including he did site visits of all the vendors, kind of pop-in kind of visits that were unscheduled. So we felt like he got a really good look at the day-to-day operations of each particular facility.
And as we mentioned earlier, this would be the time that the board, if you have questions, we would entertain those towards any of our city legal or our Lawrence Police Department. So the floor is open for any questions.
I will say I just found in there that it's 24 months, 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Per the ordinance and per the RFP.
Okay. That was the only question I had from earlier.
Two-year agreement. Are there any questions by the board? I will entertain any folks here that want to make comments. If you would state your name and for the record, you're welcome to, if you guys would just sit right there for a
Doug, I
second.
wanted to let you know that I received an email earlier today, and I want to make it part of the record.
Okay.
From a Dan Boblea, letting us know that Lawrence Towing is qualified as a woman-owned business. If that makes any difference to the board, he asked that I make that known, and I've done so.
Thank you.
Qualified minority business, is if it's a woman-owned, or is that just?
Yes, from what he said,
Check the citation he sent.
he said the
WB.
per Indiana status under ICE, let's see, it says Lawrence Towing is qualified as a woman-owned business for by Indiana status under IC 5222520.5.
Okay. Duly noted, and please put that in the record for our, sir? Yes, sir. Please state your name for the record and address if you don't.
My name is Matthew Bartlett. I'm with Interstate Delaware and South Towing.
Okay.
My address at work is 2460 North Graham Avenue.
Okay.
You want my residential address too, or? Okay.
That's fine.
You know, first of all, thank you, both Chief Hoffman, Chief Bigsby, and the board for entertaining all the bids. When I read through this RFP packet numerous times, I didn't see anywhere, and I don't think any of the other respondents saw anywhere, that we had the ability to tell the city what we were willing to change the amount to. in the RFP, it states what we have to pay per towed vehicle. So if another company is stating they're going to raise that administrative fee, that I don't believe would fall in the legal mumbo jumbo, because it says that it's $35 per vehicle paid to the city of Lawrence. That doesn't mean another towing company can raise it. At least that's not what I read in the RFP. If I can raise it, I'll raise it $75 a car, but that's not what was offered. It was that you had to agree that you would pay $35 a vehicle.
Right.
It was towed and/or impounded to the city of Lawrence by the 15th of the following month. So a respondent should not be able to change that fee according to the RFP.
Have to defer to city legal on that, whether they, if that was a effort on their part, just
And all of us have bilingual
Without a
staff.
cause.
I mean, all of us have enough staff that have crossed paths. I have 6 people that are bilingual. It doesn't matter that they may not be working at the time that somebody is there to pick up a vehicle. But, you know, the rate says, or the RFP states that we have to respond to the city with $35 a vehicle for every vehicle towed and impounded by the 15th of the following month. To me, it looks a little fishy that another company can just raise that rate, and that's what makes them one of the qualified companies. I mean, Zors does not have the number of people on the east side, the total number of staff. They have 3 locations over on the west side that have well over 100 staff. The east side only has about 7 or 8 people, which is going to be the company that responds. And then your people, you know, your customers, or our customers, our towing customers, as well as your people are going to have to, you know, your residents are going to have to go much farther away to pick up vehicles than they would from me, or even from Garner's or from Lawrence Towing.
If you don't mind, if I can interject real quick. The location that they have is going to be located here in the city of Lawrence.
That's only if
Oh,
zoning
47.
passes. Zoning passes though.
To my knowledge, it has passed zoning, but
No.
I'll leave that to city legal and they.
It has not, it's still commercial as of today.
But I do want to, the reason why we looked at that, I mean, I know that there's some discussion about how much they said, how much they weren't going to say, but they took that time to actually put that in their RFP, going line by line, within their RFP, of what we've seen from the ones that we got. And that's the reason why we made part of our decision for Zors to be going contract.
I'm trying to find where it says in the RFP that it has to be 35.
It's 30, it shows 30, but they went above.
But it doesn't say anywhere that it can be changed. I'd like to see their personnel qualifications too. They don't have the qualifications that know what we send the people to train, myself, my company, as well as theirs. Look at our tenured employees. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Yes, sir.
I'm Mickey Epperts. I run Gardner's Towing.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Epperts, Mickey?
You said Garner's?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have your address, generally.
411 South Ritter Avenue is the office where I stay.
Okay. That'll just be for the record. Thank you.
Okay, I was just curious where Zors' lot is, because the lot they're in now, I used to have that lot, and I had it for 2 years. You're lucky to get 30 cars in there, and it was not zoned for wrecked vehicles. And it has never been zoned for wrecked vehicles. The property belongs to Pete Walsh. There is no inside storage there unless he's renting one of the garages.
I personally see garage that
Okay. And I agree with Matt Bartley on the price, because years ago when the city went to a franchise fee, I was part of, there were several record companies that was part of putting this in effect. And the city only asked for so much and you couldn't go above it. But back then the city was asked for $20 and that's what we had to give back. We wasn't allowed to give no more back. If you put it on there, you'd give more back, your bid was thrown out.
Okay.
My attorney can't be here because Taft represents us and also represents you. So conflict of interest, he wouldn't come tonight.
Okay.
For the record, no, that's never been brought to my attention or knowledge by your attorney at all.
They just all come over from Ice Miller. We used to use Ice Miller. It's Lacey Johnson, Mark Blackson, I've drawn a blank on the third one, I'm sorry. But I have numerous staff, speak Spanish, everything else too. When I was with Bigsby to inspect a lot, we looked at the garage, looked at the lot, it was gone. Never talked to our people or anything. It's nothing against him, but I'm just stating, it was about a 5-minute walkthrough and that was it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Hi. As you probably know, state your name and for the record and an address for us.
My name is Deidre Ballard. I'm the owner of Lawrence Towing. The address is 8851 Pendleton Pike. And I too want to state that my attorney wasn't able to be here because we were informed this morning that it was an in-person meeting that he couldn't attend online. And he is unfortunately from Fort Wayne, so he was not able to attend at that short notice. I agree with Matt Bartlett. I spoke with my counsel. It was never brought to our attention that that admin fee could be changed. You know, it stated in there what you were supposed to pay. It didn't ever state that that is something that could be changed, as well as the pricing. The pricing is listed in there, and it tells you what you are allowed to charge for certain services. So if those fees are not allowed to be changed, because there is a city ordinance for those, I don't see how the admin fee can be changed either. I would also like to say that we verified this morning that my attorney called, and the lot that Zors has got in Lawrence is not zoned properly to have wrecked vehicles on the facility, and that should not make them eligible for this contract. I would also like to say that I currently, as of today, have 89 vehicles. I currently have the contract, and I currently have 89 vehicles in my storage lot as of today for Lawrence Police Department. So the minimum of 50 that it states in the contract, I don't see is going to be sufficient, nor do I believe that anybody will ever tell you that that facility will hold 50 vehicles. It's not big enough. I've had someone go in and map it, put cars, the average size car in the lot, and you cannot fit 50 vehicles in that lot. And I have mechanics lien sales every week, every Thursday, just to keep cars rotating out of my lot so that I can keep enough storage space for the new cars that will be coming in for Lawrence Police. And I know as of right now, Zors does not have that space to put them, nor do they have sales every week. So again, I have 89 cars in my facility. There's no way they have space for 89 vehicles at that facility. So I just want to bring that to your attention. As she stated earlier, I am a minority-owned business. I'm a 100% woman-owned business, and I am here in the city of Lawrence. We provided towing service for Lawrence Police Department for 20 years. I mean, it's been a long time. I just purchased it in March. We've done a lot of changes. We've updated our trucks. We've done lots of training and those kinds of things to make sure that they're getting the service that they need for the citizens of Lawrence.
I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is our comments right now that we're going to entertain. Yes, sir.
This is my only question is,
Okay.
you know, most agencies, I mean, the three of us that own Interstate tow for a total of 113 police departments throughout Illinois and Indiana. And actually, a few weeks ago, when me and Mr. Garner were speaking from Garner's Towing and Deidre from Lawrence Towing, most departments in like Metro Chicago area, Metro, even Indianapolis area, Fishers, Noblesville, Westfield, most of them are going with a multi-pronged approach of having 2 or 3 vendors split the contract on a rotation basis due to the fact that Just like everybody else in the world, everybody has a hard time keeping personnel. Everybody has a hard time with response time. Not any different than Lawrence Fire Department or Lawrence Police Department. They all have mutual aid agreements with other cities for that reason. In our industry, we don't get that option because we're all competitors. Generally, we're all banging heads and we all want the business and none of us want to get along. You actually have 3 companies here right now that want to work together and are willing to work together if the department would let us. Am I right in saying that? Yes. That are overqualified for what the city of Lawrence is asking in their RFP and are sitting here in your meeting today with respect to the board as well as the department as well as both chiefs. I think that maybe the city should take a couple days and look at that option, if that's something that everybody's willing to entertain, or we hash it out here tonight. But I think that that would be a huge viable option that the city of Lawrence could benefit from, and the guys that would benefit from it the most, none of them are sitting here in this room. It's their guys on the street. Their guys on the street at 2 in the morning waiting for a tow truck while the drunks are out and the idiots are out that are hitting these guys. That's all I have to say. That's my last piece, but you do have 3 companies here that are more than happy and willing to work together.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Yeah, Chief?
So I would just like to reiterate a couple points that I made earlier.
Right.
I have great respect for all 3 companies. Deputy Chief Bigsby and I went with what was in the RFPs. So if it was improper for one company to raise the administrative fee to get an edge on the other 2, I don't know. That's a question for Ms. Voller, sorry. I'm open to suggestions on what was just suggested, I guess. If this is something that the board would like to take under advisement, I would be more than open to having discussions with the 3 groups, because I believe his final comment is absolutely correct. The people who benefit from this are the men and women who wear the uniforms of the police and fire departments, and oftentimes at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're dealing with a lot of things, they need the quickest, most professional towing services. So I just want to throw that out there, that I'm not opposed to that, nor am I against any of the people behind me.
Right.
We were just simply going by what was in the packets, and the assumption was that zoning issues were not part of our decision-making process. That's another, if a particular company and a location is not suitable, we were not aware of that.
I think that was brought to the board's attention that possibly, and I don't know, Chief Bigsby, was that something you researched or?
It was researched through the city engineer that they were zoned properly. All of them were zoned properly, to my knowledge. I don't know if there was any other discussion. Maybe he can come to the board and make a statement or something like that from him. But I can't attest to everything that he has observed through his investigation as far as the zoning criteria for the towing.
I know that's been an item that's been brought up, and I don't know if we have anything on that property from city legal.
It was not at all in the RFP. I think the issue may come down to, it may or may not, whether that area is zoned properly for a wrecking service versus, I would have to pull it up.
It's listed by the city of Annapolis, registered, and where we have a special exception for, which is where the issue lays. If we're towing a vehicle for the police department, whether it's state police or Lawrence, doesn't matter what department, you tow an abandoned vehicle or an unregistered motor vehicle, it has to have an I-4 zoning. Before the spot that Doors has listed right now is commercial. That's a 2-year process to get it.
I only recall Sheree saying it was industrial, zone.
I'm looking.
Yeah,
That's the last thing that I got.
I have in my notes that it's zoned for automobile and vehicle storage or auction work. That is the I-2 that I have in my last notes on it. But none of this was in the RFP, so none of this was anything you all would have looked at, or I think someone's attorney mentioned it obscurely in an email. I've never been informed anything by anyone's attorney about an issue with it.
My attorney sent it
Yeah, that's when I did this research and found that it was I-2. He didn't give me any information about why that wasn't right.
Do we have anybody from Zors here that can help verify?
Can I speak for 5 minutes?
I just want to interject real quick.
Let's answer one question at a time. We'll give, just wait your turn there. Go ahead. Let's go into the zone. We're on a zoning issue right this
Well, I know
second.
it's zoning, but I wanted to bring up, that's not true what you said earlier about me not talking to people. That's not true.
You talk to me.
I talked to you, I went to your other lot, and spoke with the lady that was
Okay.
busy.
Well, I'll
But
apologize
please-
for that because I wasn't there.
Okay.
I was talking about Fortville when we met there.
Right, I talked to you in Fortville, and I also went over to your other lot.
I know you
So I
did.
want to make that clear for the record.
And I'll apologize for that because I wasn't at my second lot.
All right. Good to
What they're
know.
talking about on the zoning, you're allowed to be there, but you can't store wrecked cars. Because I just went through this with Ice Miller to get our lot at 411 South Ritter. It took us 2 years to get it zoned. I won't say how much money it took, but it did take 2 lobbyists and 2 attorneys to get it done. And it was just over wrecked cars. The record service can be there, but he cannot zone wrecked cars and have auctions until the zoning board, it's a variance is what they give you.
Zoning code.
We're just kind of going through the zoning things that are online that we can pull
And
up.
the only thing that I
I-2, 3, or 4.
appreciate, if one record company has to go through it, all of them should have it right. I believe in what's fair is fair, and the rules are for everybody. You know, I can't go out and drink and drive, somebody else shouldn't be able to. And if I have to, and Ward's is going through it right now. They've got a lot they can be in, but they can't store wrecked cars there. Zoning board come out and find them for it. And that's all I'm asking, it should be treated fair. If I have to get a zoning, Ward's have to get a zoning, Matt Bartley has to get a zoning, they should be made to get a zoning.
I just looked it up. I actually do the zoning for the city of Lawrence. And according to the use table published by the Marion County zoning ordinance, it says automobile and vehicle storage or auction facilities are allowed in a C7, an I2, I3, or I4. Check the zoning for the Zors lot. It is zoned I2.
Okay, well, it wasn't zoned when I was there.
I'm sorry?
Special exception is for wrecked cars.
I'm telling you what I'm seeing here. Automobile or vehicle storage, there's nothing in the
And
zoning code
Indianapolis got
that says
my
anything about
boss's
wrecked
pocket.
cars.
They can just
And
rezone it.
effective on July 1st, all of that comes to the city of Lawrence, not through Marion County anymore,
Okay.
just so you know.
Well, I've dealt with Lawrence Towings, I've dealt with Lawrence since 1971. I used to be at Interstate Towing, I was there for 35 years. I worked under Suttle, Sterrett, and Snyder, and some of Cantwell and Paul Ricketts. So I know how the city of Lawrence works, and they are strict on their ETAs and stuff. And I just don't feel that Zors can handle it. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. I'm done.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that this was sent to me by someone at in Marion County, because we called Marion County to verify. And this is what they sent me. And you can see that things that are green are able to be a towing facility. There is a huge difference in a towing facility with impounded vehicles, wrecked vehicles, unregistered vehicles, and a facility that is a salvage yard. Those are all different things. When they sent me this, you can see this triangular lot is the address that Zors has provided.
Okay.
And you can see that it is in gray. And in gray, it says down here, prohibited. This was what I was sent by someone at the Marion County zoning. So I just want to clarify that.
Right. Now, I'm not sure, we've got our zoning up right here at this moment, but thank you for your map analysis there.
That's,
Okay. Is there any other questions by the board?
No, but I do have a question. This is just for my own edification. if Interstate would have received the contract, would Lawrence Towing still have would Lawrence Towing have issues with Interstate and vice versa? Or is it something against ZOR? No, I don't. You see, I don't want to stir the pot, but that's my question, because you guys are here to defend, ZOR's not here to defend themselves.
I'll at least answer on my behalf. And
Okay.
Put it on the record. There's been enormous amount of times that we are called by, like Indiana State Police. That's the only other law enforcement agents that we tow for, other than very little bit for Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, where we're 40 minutes into a response, and then usually, again, it's not coming from the command staff, but the guy on the road is like, oh, I've been sitting here waiting, the Zors is en route, and we get the paperwork, it says Zors, supposed to go to 301 Kitley Avenue, and we're picking the car up 38 minutes into the tow, and I'm talking at 465 and 69. I'm not even talking out in city streets. We tow for two agencies. We tow for Indiana State Police, and we tow for Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, and then we maybe tow 4 cars a month for them. So Zors is primarily a west side location. They're in Boone County. They're in Speedway. They're all on the west side. They have very small amount of assets on the east side to be able to respond to a contract like this in the timeline you guys are asking, and not even what you guys are asking, what their officers need. You know, the 3 of us are on the east side, the 4 of us, excuse me, Garner's, Lawrence, us, we're on the east side. We have all the equipment and beyond what you guys require, need, and what their guys need, especially in the middle of the night, weekends. Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays are gonna be the busiest days, and Mondays are the busiest days. I bet if they pulled all their crash data, how close am I in accuracy? You know, 8 o'clock on the Monday, when their guys are having accidents, so is Speedway Police, so is Boone County Sheriff's Department, so is Whitestown, so is how many places can 60 trucks go? Especially with the divide right now with 65 the way it is, it's just, it's not strategic to get from where all your assets are on the west side over to here. That's why I brought up the idea of, you know, you look at what Fisher's is doing, there's 3 companies on rotation. That's it. And they don't change it unless, and that's because if I say no, the city has to use the next 2 on the list. If they don't have anybody available, they're tied up with this working one with the state police. They say, well, it's gonna be 35, 40 minutes, I don't have anybody available. They have to call the next 2 on the list, but the city has control of where the vehicles are located.
Yeah, and I understand that. That was, I don't think that was my
I don't think I have
question.
anything against Zors. I don't have anything against them.
Okay.
I've known Jamie and Deidre for probably 20 years, even before I moved to Indianapolis. I've known them forever. I actually even used to sell him trucks. I don't have any issue. I don't even know Jimmy John. I don't know
Right.
anybody at Zors. But I can tell you what I hear on the street and what the number of employees that I gain, you hear a lot of crisscross talk, and it's usually, well, you know, I don't want to be getting yelled at by the police when you show up 40 minutes into a call, da-da-da-da-da. And again, if I had known that we could change the administrative fees, I mean, we have places in Chicago that we have to pay $100 a car, $500 a car. But that wasn't what I read out of that. What I read was we had to pay that amount per vehicle, no matter what. I don't want to get hung up on zoning and the technicalities. The merits are, I read that we had to pay, whatever it was, $30 or $35 a car by the 15th of each month, no problem. I'm financially stable enough to do that with no issue. But we all have enough respect to be here tonight.
I understand that, and I'm not opposed to the idea of what you indicated, doing multiple, you know, that's not my business. I just go by what the recommendation is, and I have to trust the system. But I just wanted to make sure that you would have the same passion and compassion if Lawrence Towing was picked.
I don't have any issue with Lawrence.
Okay, because it just seems like in my world, it seems like it's just 2 against 1 kind of. And I apologize for saying it
I'll be
like
honest,
that.
You know, it was kind of odd that when
3 against 1.
the warning vote came out for the previous meeting, it looked like Zors had already been awarded it. And so it already looked like Zors had already been chosen.
Understand.
I mean, they put it on their Facebook a month ago.
I understand that, but we're here.
Lawrence,
We're here generically.
Absolutely.
We're trying to look at it
Every day is a new
30,000
day.
feet above ground. And I have to make a statement about, I know all about school construction because I'm in the school business. And when we look at bids, people always stockpile their offer. And I don't want you to hang your hat, in my opinion, on the fact that they increased their, what is it, the fee? So what? I mean, a lot of bids come with oh, we can add this. I've seen it, I hear it. I go to the Washington Township School Board meetings. We're doing $1 billion worth of construction. So to say that you did not know that, to me, that does not make a determination for me. I want to put that on record.
Yeah.
And I want to say something about picking multiple people. I mean, per the statute, that can be done if it's in the RFP. This is a long RFP that honestly I haven't read with a fine-tooth comb in the last 2 days, so I would have to go through line by line, but that's an option. I don't know if it's an option here because it was never stated as an option before 20 minutes ago, so I can't give you an answer on that right now, but it could be an option in a certain situation.
Understand?
Did you find anything out on the $30 if that could be changed, the admin fee?
I mean, it says $30. It doesn't say, I think he mentioned like all bids will be rejected and money rejected over $30. There's nothing in there saying that. I do see where it says $30. I don't, it doesn't say one way or the other whether that can or cannot be
Did you read
changed.
that specific piece as to how we read it? Did you read it for the record?
Read it for the record, I guess.
Board to be able to read? Because it doesn't
I
say.
mean, they
in
can
here.
look at it themselves, I'm sure. It's on page 10 if you all want to do that. It says,
That's fine.
in addition, the contractor will remit a $30 administrative fee to the city for all police impounded vehicles by the 15th. That's the extent
That
of
doesn't say injective, it doesn't say put a fee in here what we think would be fair. It says that we have to pay that fee. It doesn't say that we can change that fee. And that should be one of the bases. At least in my opinion.
That's, again, that's not a weighing factor to me, like I said earlier. But I don't want to go back and forth about it, but that's just something so minute, so minute.
Just to answer her question, I specifically don't have a problem with Zors. I don't know Zors. I don't know their owners or their employees or any of those things. I think that the problem that I have is that, basically we feel like they came and got a lot on the east side and didn't go through the proper channels to be here legitimately, which I had to do, they had to do, as far as zoning and those kinds of things. I don't have a problem with, if you guys decided to do, a round robin where you have 2 or 3 different tow companies and you do this one, this one, this one. I have no problem working with Zors. Again, I don't know them, but I think we're just asking that it's fair that they go through the proper steps and the proper channels to be, a towing company like we had to do as far as zoning and all of the things 24-hour. They don't even have a public restroom over there. They're in an office trailer that has no running water. I don't know how you're going to provide a restroom to people that come there to pick up their cars. If there's an accident and somebody's got to wait for a ride or whatever the case may be, they have no service.
This is all hearsay stuff about someone that's not here. I have a hard time
Right.
listening to things that,
They had
here
the
to
option
defend
to be here, though, and they didn't.
we've got a recommendation from the police department, and I would like to motion to approve it, or if there's thought of further discussion on.
The only thing I'd like to hear from, before we get to that final thing, there's been a discussion, and I want an answer from because we've asked the police and we've asked city legal to
Then,
look into our recommendation, and the only thing that has come up here with something that city legal's brought up, maybe Chief, you come up and address it, would be, is there an interest or a non-interest in the idea of a multifaceted towing program here in Lawrence, or do you feel, I'm putting you on the spot, that a solid recommendation company is the direction you feel our city should go from a police standpoint?
So our recommendation was based on what was on paper in these packets and some site visits. The discussion that has come forward here tonight, I am open to those discussions about having a multi-vendor solution. I just want to make sure that we're doing this within the law and within, because tonight we're discussing the adoption of based on an RFP, right? So
That's right.
this discussion is going outside of that realm. So I will defer.
Well, I was just going to say, number one, we didn't enter this with a multifaceted
Correct.
effort, okay? That's the first thing, so that did not come before the board. But my point being, if this is something that is for the betterment, I thought I heard someone nod and say for our police on the street, our men in blue, is this a plus for them? Or if going with one, again, this is going to change our look at this, but I guess I need to really see what you think safety-wise, since we are the Board of Safety, whether this would be a better scenario for the city, or we do like we've done for the past 50 years and stay with one towing service.
So I've done no research on multi-vendor scenarios. I have no idea what that looks like, how it would look. How is it a round robin? Is it the 911 dispatchers who keep a tally on which company is next to be called? And if they're not available, then, I don't know how that looks, so I can't make an educated answer to that. But I would say I am open to looking into that. And if you want to take tonight's, if Robert's rules would allow this, to take it under advisement for tonight, and we'll work with Caitlin in the near future to determine the next steps. I would be open to that. And Chief Bigsby can weigh in as well.
Yeah, and I know in the RFP as well, like if there's not a 20-minute response time within the RFP, it does allow the police department to contact another vendor to impound the vehicle if an officer is out there above that 20-minute threshold. So that will probably be determined by the supervisor who's working the shift to say, hey, go ahead and either get with dispatch, find out where that record is, or call another company. So there is a provision in that, inside the RFP.
And there's a performance-based.
Yes, and there's also an out calls without calls. So if the vendor isn't providing the service to the police department or the city at the time, the city has that option, and I can, defer to Caitlin as well, that agreement can be voided out if they're not in compliance within the RFP. So if we see that they don't have enough trucks, if they can't do the response times, if they're not showing up at runs, if they're not cleaning up properly, that's something that we can come back to the board, to determine, or, that they are not doing what the RFP required.
Right.
So if they're not within the RFP requirements that we've seen in there, then to my understanding, there is a out clause within that to where we can, part ways or what have you with that vendor.
There is. Basically, if the other party defaults, you have to give written notice and give them a reasonable period to correct the default. And then if it's not, you can just declare it to be terminated. And then, of course, we would need services, so we would probably follow the same procedure.
Would it?
Okay, before our leadership of our police department, I guess the statement I want to hear from you would be, do you stand by your recommendation to this board, or would you want this matter to be tabled for study and continue with our current towing? So we really have two options here. We have an option of, we have researched and studied and we feel Zohr's towing is your recommendation and you stand by that, or you want to do further research with this matter being tabled this evening and allow you to do further research with city legal. So I think the door is open for you gentlemen to discuss what you feel, And then I think we would probably react to what your feeling is.
So a couple points. Some discussions have been brought up tonight that were not included in this packet that we have reviewed.
Correct.
That bring concerns to me about our earlier recommendation. My short answer is I would like for it to be tabled, our recommendation to be tabled for tonight, and allow us to work with city legal to determine what our best next move for the city and for the police department will be.
Okay, you've heard this from the chief. Are there questions further? I would entertain a motion for tabling this.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Really quick, I'll just say that you are supposed to look at the factors in the RFP and not outside issues, but you do have the opportunity under the statute to engage in discussions and get best and final offers from responsible offerers. So I don't think there's any issue with taking this under advisement, but you are still supposed to directly look at the factors that were in the RFP. And I would have to look through it if you guys wanted to do like a round robin type of decision. That may not even be applicable. That if you guys want to do that, that may be reject everyone and do it
That's what I was going
for
to
a
say.
third time.
Does it make sense just to reject it now?
That you all always have the opportunity to reject everybody, or you have the opportunity to take it under advisement or select one tonight. Those are all.
I didn't know because of the RFP that we can do that.
You can reject everybody.
Well, but yes. What I'm asking is, can we take it under advisement? We shouldn't, I mean, based on the RFP, I don't know, can we do that is my question.
Yes, you can do that because,
Can do the advisement.
yes.
Okay.
I'll point out too something Mr. Clark said earlier, and we've heard discussions, but there's one group in this packet that's not even represented here tonight to speak for themselves, which is concerning in and of itself. But maybe if they were here, they could clarify some of these things, but they're not here.
Correct.
So I think that's a very valid point. And Mrs. Wright-Browner also made a good point too, that,
Not here.
these arguments are not what the decision should be based on. However, they're compelling discussions.
Right.
So that's why I still stand by, I would like to back off our recommendation and do further research with city legal
Okay.
about the possibility of a
Will this be
multi-vendor solution.
A tabling situation for this matter, or is this a under advisement matter? How are we going to list this for a vote here?
Either, tabling or taking under
We'd
advisement.
have to bring it off the table the next time. So I'll entertain a motion to table this for review by police and legal and really the whole towing and recovery matter, which hopefully at our next meeting we can, I don't know if we'll have a decision yet or a further discussion, but whatever we come to know, we'll know this may not end here within the next week or two. This may go into July, or your time to research and discuss and then bring before the board your best answer to.
There may be smaller companies that would be interested in qualified in a round robin situation that are not interested in qualified and being the sole provider.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Point.
So,
At this time, can the current proposals be embellished?
I would not say embellished.
But can the gentleman add in the additional fee, those kind of things? Do they do I don't know how that works.
You can have discussions and obtain best and final offers. I would have to look into the limits of that, what that exactly means.
If they resubmit or something?
Yeah.
We need to extend the existing
We'll
contract?
have to request it, yeah. 'Cause it was only through the end of June.
That's what I thought. So do we make a motion, do we need to do
well, we
that?
haven't accepted a recommendation. We've heard discussion of the recommendation, so it
Getting
looks
ahead.
to me like we could table this for review, and it may not come back when we meet next in this format. You may decide that maybe you want a multifaceted towing service of 3 companies. You may decide that, you may not. You may take some time and figure this out, make sure your zonings that we're talking about, we were having a lot of discussion about zoning and if it's factual or not factual. And so I think what we have here are a lot more questions than answers right now. So is there a motion to table the recommendation for acceptance of towing and recovery?
Motion
To table
to table.
by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Browner. So all questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0, so we are tabled with the proposal for towing and recovery services until our next meeting for either an update at that time with possibly, I would think, maybe looking at the following meeting for some finalization on it. I know we can't keep going forever on, COVID has pushed us way beyond where we probably should be with even looking at our towing issue. So thank you for everyone on this issue today, and we'll look forward to hearing something in the future. We'll go, item B has been actually not completed yet, so that'll stay an unfinished business as well as item A. The new business we have before us, item A, approval of Resolution 10, which is the participation electronic means of communication, which we have had going on during the COVID. And we all received that information, Caitlin, from you. And that's before us so that we do have some options here. If one of us cannot make a meeting, we could do so remotely. I believe only one. Is that correct?
More than 2.
I think it's,
No.
I forget the limit. There's definitely, there's multiple limits in
50%.
there.
Yeah, I read it, yeah.
And then you can do it twice, but then not the third time unless it's for some qualifying reason like death, sickness, et cetera.
Right.
There's definitely limits on it. It won't be at all the same as things have been during the public health emergency. But while that's in place, there is a separate section that allows it to be done like it has been. This is just going forwards.
Right. Are there any questions on the resolution?
No, I liked it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 10
Motion to approve.
by Mr. Clark? Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. And questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Item B then is approval of Resolution 11, 2021, opioid opt-out for the city. And I don't know if you want to speak to that, Caitlin?
I can speak to this. So my firm is not participating anymore. I will say that we were conflicted out, so we are not representing the city in this matter, but the consortium of attorneys has recommended to all of its municipal clients to opt out of this settlement. Basically, it can allow various cities and towns to seek more funds outside of what the state is getting. And so it's recommended that you all opt out, and you can still choose within a short amount of time after to opt back in. But this does have to be done by the end of the month and sent to the Attorney General. I can work on the specific contact. I'll ask the attorneys in the consortium where specifically it would be sent, but they have recommended that you all go ahead and pass this resolution.
Questions?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 11
Motion to approve.
by Mr. Clark? Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Is there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0, so that is approved. Comments, administration, we've had a lot from our police department. I don't know if you have any other comments, Chief or Chiefs. Okay, citizens' comments, I don't think so. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
Mr. Clark, is there a second?
Second.
And all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. I've always wanted to do that gavel thing. It's the first time I've ever done it in my life.